everybody? Expat Stacker coming to you with a discussion topic video, and this is a part 2, kind of a follow-up to, I think it was the first video on my channel, which is called Warren Buffett Stocks Are Better Than Gold. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description. You can check it out if you want to, but if you don't want to, I'll just basically summarize it. I went through a Yahoo Finance article in which Warren Buffett and Yahoo Finance kind of make the case for why they think stocks are better than gold. And the basic reason is something like stocks pay dividends and stocks grow more over time than gold does. And I'm sure they probably think the same thing about silver and other precious metals as well. So the problem with the article, as I go through in great detail in that video, is that they use a lot of anecdotes, they use a lot of hypotheticals, and they completely go off track and say, well, if Warren Buffett had done this, and if this happened, and if that happened, then the stocks would be worth this much, and it's totally based on like a fabricated history. And so I go through and take a look at the actual history. So it's a pretty interesting video if you want to check it out. But basically what I want to do in this video is just kind of explore the topic again, but through the reality of the pandemic that we're all going through right now. So are stocks better than gold? It depends on who you are. You'll hear a lot of channels, stacking channels, precious metal channels. You'll hear a lot of the people, the content creators, start their videos off by saying, I'm not a financial advisor, and that's fine. I'm not a financial advisor either, but I think more than saying I'm not a financial advisor, I think you should really understand that you're not going to find the right financial advice for yourself from a YouTube video, because everybody's circumstances are different, and there's no one size fits all solution. You might be able to pick up pieces of useful information here and there, but to say that something like stocks are better than gold, it really depends on who you are. If you're already a millionaire or a billionaire, or you're already rich, then maybe stocks are better than gold. If this whole pandemic thing is, not really affecting your safety and your security of yourself and your family, then maybe stocks are better than gold. But I do own stocks, and I bought a lot of stocks, recently, because the prices, the stock market took a massive dip. So, and just now it's starting to recover. But in that, I want to take a look at that. So what happened with gold during that time? What happened with silver during that time? They also took a dip, but they recovered right away, And if you're somebody who wasn't able to work, or your income was decreased, mine was, and maybe you didn't have enough savings, or you weren't able to work and had zero income, what are you going to do? If your stocks are all down, the prices are all down, and it's a weekend, maybe the markets are closed, well, what are you going to do? Well, if you have silver and gold, you're able to go liquidate that immediately. And the prices on that were only down for really a few days, So in that case, are stocks better than gold? No, I don't think so. And I think the majority of people who watch my channel probably would fit more into that camp than into the millionaire, billionaire camp, who think that stocks are better than gold. Like I said, I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm saying that they have a different purpose. Gold is not going to lose its value over time. We've seen that for sure. Stocks can and do lose some or all of their value all the time. Just like when in the Warren Buffett Stocks Are Better Than Gold Part 1 video, I show that the first stock that Warren Buffett bought is gone. It was gone a long time ago. You know, companies go bankrupt and they disappear all the time. And if your money is in that, then what are you gonna do? You know, it's gone, and that's called counterparty risk, and that's a big difference between precious metals and stocks. You know, if you have physical precious metals in your possession, there is no counterparty risk. You know, so in that case, during a pandemic or some other type of crisis, are stocks better than gold? I really don't think so. You know, so again, you know, it really depends on who you are, and also what your personal situation is. Um, even other commodities. I mean, like look at oil. You know, if you had oil stocks or you traded futures or something like that, then if you haven't seen what's happened with the oil price recently, I mean, it was in negative territory for a while. It's recovered a bit now, but even the long-term outlook on oil is not great, you know. Um, and I mean, we've just seen for thousands and thousands of years, gold and silver, and other precious metals. I mean, they're not going to lose their value. It holds its value and increases steadily over time. It's safer. It's a lot less risky than securities, stocks, bonds, futures, ETFs, ETNs, all these kinds of things, you know. With those things, you have counterparty risk and your money could disappear. I'll also leave a link in the description to a video about a guy who lost everything. He was a millionaire. He had houses on the East Coast and the West Coast, boats, multiple cars, retired early, and he lost everything during the financial crisis, and now he's homeless living in Oakland, California. I feel bad. The guy is an interview with him basically, and the guy lost everything. So, you know, if he had precious metals, maybe that, you know, if he had a significant amount of his portfolio in precious metals, maybe that wouldn't have happened. You know, I mean, you listen to his story and think about what if he had that safety net? What if he had that insurance? You know, so, and I mean, I think that stocks are fine. You know, they have their purpose, but you're taking a big risk with that. You know, and you need to offset that risk with something. What are you going to offset it with? Cash? You know, I mean, cash loses its value over time. I mean, it is good to have some cash just to be straight liquid, for times like we're experiencing right now, you know. But when times get real tough, you know, uh, gold and silver are safer than fiat, and that's all there is to it. We've seen, you know, you can look at Venezuela, you can look at in history, like in Weimar Germany, and plenty of examples throughout history where fiat currency was just totally debased. And hey, if you had silver and gold and a significant amount of it, you would have been safe. That's the real reserve currency throughout history around the world. So I think that, you know, personally, I'm not going to say what you should do, but personally, I think that I need gold and silver as insurance, basically, as a store of wealth, as a savings. And there are a lot of not stacking channels, but financial channels. I'm not going to name any names, but some young guys, you know, they want to give financial advice. They want to talk about stocks and real estate and stuff, doing magic tricks online and whatever. And they kind of talk down on precious metals. And hey, you know what? It's fine if that's what they think, then that's what they can say. But for a normal person like me with a family, you know, I'm not gonna risk it. You know what I mean? So I need gold and silver as insurance and a store of wealth and a savings, a hedge against inflation as part of a diversified portfolio. You know, like I said, that includes stocks for me, but you've got to hold assets from different classes. You know, real estate, very illiquid asset. You can make it very profitable, but it's also very illiquid. And if you needed to have money right away and all your money was in real estate, you might have a really difficult time because when everybody is trying to go liquid, nobody wants to buy, some really expensive piece of land. And I mean, I think we're seeing that not only with like residential private real estate, but also commercial real estate right now. I heard a statistic recently, I can't remember where it's from, but they anticipate that only 1 in 5 restaurants in the United States, I think I heard this from the BBC actually, 1 in 5 restaurants in the United States will be able to survive after the economy gets fully reopened. And so commercial real estate landlords are a lot more willing to renegotiate rent prices than they were before, because in the past, no, they were not going to negotiate lowering rent prices, but lowering the rent price is better than not having any tenants at all. And so, I mean, real estate is really getting hit hard right now. So I think we've just seen that you need to have a diversified portfolio. You hear that thrown around a lot. And what does that mean? It means that you hold assets from different classes that are not correlated to one another. I mean, everything went down when this thing, I think the worst day was like March 23rd or something like that for the markets. Every asset of every class went down, but gold and silver recovered first. Stocks some of them are just now recovering, and majority of that is because of government bailouts, and is that really what you want to rest your family's safety and security on? I don't. And there's a political side to this too. And I mean, right now, especially in the United States, but all around the world, political, debates are really divisive right now. But I'm going to show you 2 videos right now, and it's going to show you that it really doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you come from. Having something that you hold that can ensure your financial safety and security is something that I think you need. I'm talking about myself when I say that, but like I said, I'm gonna just show you right now 2 videos from 2 different sides of the spectrum, you might say, left and right and whatever. So first of all, the first video here we're gonna look at is by a public official. His name's Art Laffer, and he's part of the Economic Recovery Task Force from the Trump White House. And basically what he's arguing is that the same thing that Mitch McConnell's been arguing recently, which is that we should let state and local governments basically go bankrupt. And he's saying he'll speak for himself, but basically he's saying that we should let them go bankrupt. And so what does that mean for all state and local public workers, teachers, anybody who works for the government? What's going to happen with their pensions? What's going to happen with their pay? What's going to happen with their health insurance? What's going to happen with all of that if we let them go bankrupt? So you have to think about that when you watch this, okay? So without further ado, let's watch the video now.
But what Mitch McConnell was just talking about on that radio show, while it may anger the state of New Jersey, the governor here, there are some who say that that is actually a smart thing to do, because if you have another $500 billion in stimulus for a lot of states, if a state were to do what some cities are able to do and declare bankruptcy, they could reduce pensions, bond debt, currently off limits to states. However, some cities can do it. Art Laffer looks at that question about whether the states, and there are a particular number that really need it, and why. He talked about it last night on The Story with Martha.
When I listen to the discussion of the states, especially Connecticut, especially Illinois, especially New Jersey, these states have been so bad in their fiscal controls that they have run out of money. They're in bad shape. People are leaving the states in droves. And then they want the federal government to bail them out? I don't think so. I mean, this is their problem. I mean, is Illinois, Michigan, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, these states have had a big problem long before coronavirus came, and coronavirus came along and just popped them, and they don't need to be bailed out.
Okay, so very interesting, to say the least. I can tell you that in pretty much almost any country around the world, that would not be acceptable. It would be ridiculous to suggest that you allow state and local governments to fail, while private companies, I mean, they're publicly traded companies, but companies nonetheless are receiving bailouts, and there's no public equity in these companies. There's no public ownership, even though they're getting bailed out again for the second time in less than 10 years. So these companies can get bailed out. These massive corporations who are, having billion-dollar profits, billions and billions of dollars in profits, and they didn't save any of their money. They paid off all their executives and did big, huge stock buybacks and all these things. Basically, they've been mismanaged. They haven't used their profits to grow the business. They haven't really reinvested in their businesses. They're just taking as much money as they can. And you're going to give them a bailout, but not the public, not the state and local governments. That's ridiculous, and that would not be acceptable to say in public in most other countries. And I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying that's pretty much the reality in most other countries. Most citizens in most other countries, at least advanced countries, in Europe and Asia, developed economies, they have a lot more trust in their government. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. I'm just saying that that's the reality. So you have one person over here arguing to let state and local governments basically fail because they've been mismanaged, while private companies are getting bailed out. Now I'm going to show you another clip here, and this is from a guy who was a Facebook executive and now has his own private hedge fund. I think he's a private figure. His name's Chamath Palihapitiya. I think that's how you pronounce it. This guy is basically also arguing that we should let some institutions fail, but instead of saying the state and local governments, he's arguing another side of it. So let's take a look at that.
And I think we all agree with you that more money for Main Street is needed. Maybe not in spite of the money to all of these companies or whatever that make up the economy as well. That more money is needed everywhere, perhaps. But are you suggesting, you keep saying propping up zombie companies. Are you arguing to let airlines, for example, fail?
Yes.
Why? I mean, how does that make sense in the broader scheme of the economy?
Because it's not, because when you look at what it means, this is why I'm saying, this is a lie that's been purported by Wall Street. When a company fails, it does not fire their employees. It goes through a packaged bankruptcy, right? If anything, what happens is the people who have the pensions inside those companies, the employees of these companies, end up owning more of the company. The people that get wiped out are the speculators that own the unsecured tranches of debt, or the folks that own the equity. And by the way, those are the rules of the game. That's right, because these are the people that purport to be the most sophisticated investors in the world. They deserve to get wiped out. But the employees don't get wiped out. The pensions don't typically get wiped out.
Why does anybody, I just don't understand, why does
you.
anybody deserve, using your word, to get wiped out from a crisis created like this? How does anybody deserve to get wiped out?
Well, but just be clear, who are we talking about? We're talking about a hedge fund that serves a bunch of billionaire family offices? Who cares? Let them get wiped out. Who cares? They don't get to summer in the Hamptons? Who cares?
I mean, there are
But if you get
you
a
don't
clean
think the
cap table,
employees,
hold on, Scott.
you don't
If
think
you
the
get a
employees
clean
of these
cap table-
companies own stocks? I mean, own their stocks, own the company's stocks?
You can look on Bloomberg and you can see what percentage of these companies are typically owned by. These things are owned by BlackRock. These things are owned by these huge, amorphous organizations. Ultimately, downstream, and the employee owns a few $100s or a few thousand dollars of shares.
Well, I just don't understand.
So
This
my
is
point
like like a natural disaster. And why does anybody deserve to get wiped out? Wouldn't that be immoral in and of itself?
No, because what's happening right now is what I'll tell you is on Main Street today, people are getting wiped out. And right now, rich CEOs are not, boards that had horrible governance are not, hedge funds are not, people are. 6 million people just this week alone basically saying, holy mackerel, I don't know how I'm going to make my own expenses for the next few weeks, days, months. So it's happening today to individual Americans. And what we've done is disproportionately prop up and protect poor performing CEOs, companies, and boards. And you have to wash these people out.
Okay, so he's basically saying that a lot of the companies that have been bailed out really didn't deserve it because those aren't the rules of capitalism, and some of the same points I was just making in response to the Art Laffer video. So I think I tend probably to agree more with Mr. Palapataya, that at least these companies should have a change in their management and maybe be restructured, and it would be a lot less harmful, I think, if these private companies went through a structured bankruptcy so that the employees of these companies didn't get screwed and didn't lose their pensions and everything like that, and you did bring in some new management who will be able to grow the business, and that will ultimately be better for new investors and shareholders in those companies. So, but the reason I show you these two videos is not to argue one side over the other. The reason I show you these two videos is because these are people who are arguing against their own institutions. A government official arguing that governments, state and local governments, should fail. A private billionaire capital investor arguing to let billion-dollar companies fail. And I mean, even Warren Buffett, recently sold all of his airline stocks, So if stocks are so much better than gold, then why'd you do that? And can you really trust somebody in the government who's arguing that you should let the government fail? Can you really trust private companies to keep getting bailed out by the government when you have billionaire investors arguing to let them fail? So the only person you can really count on at the end of the day is yourself, right? That's the only person who's really going to get your back. Yourself and maybe your family, that depends. You might have a really strong group of friends as well, and if that's the case, then great. You might be really close with your neighbors and have a strong community and stuff, and I hope that's the case. That's great. But really, at the end of the day, there's only one person you can count on, and that's yourself. And so there's too much counterparty risk involved with stocks, and then at times like these where it's so uncertain, it's so volatile, and everything's so crazy, I don't really see another asset class which has been tried and true and tested throughout history like gold and silver, which can secure financial stability for you and your family. So I just wanted to explore this topic one more time in this current environment that we're in, because for a couple of reasons. One, I kind of got inspired by Transient Stacker's series of videos where he says, I'm not a doomsday prepper, I'm a bad day prepper. And I kind of thought, yeah, that's kind of, that's a good point. And also, Silver 5150 said that he likes to go through and watch old videos, and I went through and watched some of my old videos as well, and I thought about this: Warren Buffett's stocks are better than gold, and I was like, wow, there's never been a time where that has been less true than now. So I wanted to revisit that topic and make a video about it. So by the way, you should go check out those guys' channels. Great content over there. So anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on it. I want you guys to share your thoughts. Tell me what you think. What's the best way to secure financial safety and stability for yourself? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments section, guys. So anyway, guys, I hope y'all are doing okay, taking care, making it through this time. And this is Expat Stacker. Catch you on the flip side.